Today we're going to take a ride through the campgrounds at Little PD State Park. The campground road is dirt, gravel. All the sites are the same. And the road through the campground is a little tight in places. There are some sites that are really not accessible to large campers. And we're going to follow the campground map arrangement of numbers, which means the first two sites are 49 and 50. So site 49, it's a fairly easy back in. This is a sandy site. It's kind of short, reasonably level, and not too hard to get into based on the length of the site. Site 50 is also a back in. The tree across the street might make it a little bit hard to make the turn in, but again, it's a short site, so the camper would be fairly small. All right, and there is a bathhouse back in the woods behind this site. Bathhouses are fairly dated but clean and well taken care of. Alright, and then what I think is site 1 is a cabin. This is the only cabin in the campground. The cabin has a nice view of the lake, a nice outdoor fire pit, and based on the trail to the bathhouse, I would say it has no bathroom in it. And site 2 is an easy back in. It's a little bit uphill all the way in. Again, fairly small. And site 3 is another, appears to be easy back in. Again, not very big. And the trees all around. All right, and sites 4 and 5. Site 4 is occupied. Site 5 appears to be an easy back in, and then we're going to come back to that intersection. And site 5 is an easy back in. Nice big site. At least wide site, not very deep, but if there's room to get the camper in, you can certainly park a vehicle beside it. And 4 looks like an easy back in. But now we're going to come back to this split. And sites 6 through 13. And we're going to go look at sites 6 through 13. This particular loop, I would hazard to guess anything 30 foot and longer, trailer wise, is not going to make it around this loop. May not be available for these sites, and they may not consider them large enough, but you will not make it. And this is site 6, and it's a fairly small site. A little uphill coming in, but not much. And I don't know what size the site limit, the size limit for the sites is, but we'll look at the bad corner here in just a minute. In site 7, another easy one to get in and out of. and it's a nice wide sight. A couple of covered picnic tables here that I guess you can share with Site 8. Site 8 is an easy back in. It's a nice big site. A large part of the problem is this corner right here, and you can see from these trees they have been hit several times, but between those trees and the tree across the street, you're not going to make that turn with anything large. And Site 9 is an easy back in. At a fairly wide site, right on the water. It's a really pretty lake. And Site 10 is a tent site. It appears to be downhill all the way in. Hey. And Site 11 has the tent in it. It's uphill going in a little bit, not bad. And Site 12 is fairly level, and I think he came in from the road up front. Site 13 is a pull through, huge pull through. Big enough for something way larger than what could actually get in here by going around the other loop. You'd have to come straight through and back in. And Site 14 is our campground host. When we skip Site 15, it's towards the end. And we go to Site 16, which is an easy back in. Fairly wide once you're in. Site 17 is a back in. It's also an easy back in. Water, power, and sewer. And Site 18 is occupied. It's a very deep site, but it does have a curve in the middle of it. It'll be a fairly easy back in, but in order to get way back in, you're going to have to skip some of it. Have to jump the curb, sort of. Alright, and I don't know. I guess this is 19 that is sort of a pull through. And right next to the bathhouse. 20 is occupied. It's another host. Fairly easy back in, and a big site once you're in. 21 is a fairly easy back in. Fairly long site. There's a tree sort of in the site all the way at the back, but shouldn't be a problem for anything. 22 is occupied. Looks fairly level. Relatively easy back in, especially if you drive through the pine straw. 23 is a easy back in, fairly level. It's a little downhill to the passenger side. 24 looks like a pretty easy back in, a little downhill all the way in. 25, a little downhill all the way in, but reasonably level and should be fairly easy back in. 26, nice long site, nice waterfront view, a pretty good sized site once you're in. It does have 6x6s or railroad ties on the sides of it. And the backing in might be a little difficult with this corner up here. 27. There's a back in. Should be fairly easy other than that tree on the other side of the road. It's a little bit downhill all the way in. And that tree might interfere with an awning. Alright, 28 looks like an easy back in. We're not on the water anymore, but it looks like we have a trail to the water. And these sites are all sand, all packed sand drive. 29 is a pull through. Looks like a pretty easy pull through. The pull out might not be so easy, but the power and water and the sewer are all way up here at the front end of the site, but up close to the bathhouse. Site 30 is an uphill site that's a pull through. Hey. Site 30 is an uphill pull through, but not too steep. .31 looks like an easy back in. It is uphill towards the back and downhill to the passenger side. 32 is an easy back in. And it opens up a little bit once you're into the site. And 33 looks like it's a pretty tight back in to get around that corner that's in a turn and get around the tree. And the space between the trees is not very wide. The whole site's kind of bold on both sides, but it does go downhill towards the front, so it's an uphill back in. But not much of a driveway to get in between these trees. 34 is a wide open back in, almost pull through. Again, not a very big site, but wide open space. And 35 is an easy back in. Not very big, but easy to get into. 36 is a pull through, or, well, I guess it's a back in.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
And 37 is a back in. 38 is a back in, and they've filled the front half with a tent. 39 is a back in. Fairly easy back in, not a very big site, and then a trail off to I don't know what. All right, 40. Another easy one to back into or pull through or whatever we want to call it. It's not very big. All right, and then we get to site 15, which is occupied. And I don't know why that number pops up way over here on this side of the campground, but it is a huge site. That's a pull through, back in. Looks like they have backed the camper in and then set the tent up in the other half of the pull through. Here's a back in. This is the other odd numbered one. Not a very big site. Fairly easy to get in and out of. Again, not a very big site, not a very big driveway. Now we go back to our regular scheduled numbers of 42. There's an easy back in. Site's pretty level. Got a weird little hump right here on the corner, but shouldn't really be a problem with anything that would fit into space. Site 43, an easy back in. Fairly long site. Bathhouse is right there. And site 44 should be an easy back in. Again, it's not a very big site, but a nice wide site. And site 45 is a fairly easy back in. That pine tree on the corner might make it a little difficult, but it should not be too bad. Nice outdoor area. The site itself is pretty flat. Those tree roots might make a tent a little aggravating. And site 46 looks like an easy back in. A little uphill, but not much. A nice open outdoor area and camper area. Site 47, an easy back in. Fairly open once you're in the site. Your outdoor area is right up against the road, but I don't think there's much traffic on this road. Site 48, fairly easy back in. There's an overhead tree that you probably can't see in the sunshine. I'll see when we turn around. I don't think it would be in the way. I don't think a camper that's big enough to hit it would fit in this space. All right, and that's site 48. And 49 and 50 were the first two that we looked at on the wrong end of the loop. So that's all the campsites. I do have one additional comment for this campground. Please do look at the state park recommendations for camper sizes, and also note that a lot of these campsites do not have power. There's a variety of water only, power and water, and full hookup. Pay close attention to that, and based on how hard it is to get in the road to get around the road of the campsite, I would not exceed the camper size in any of the campsites. I don't know what the largest camper they recommend in this campground is, but it's a tight campground. I certainly would not bring anything any bigger than probably upper 30s in length, even if it says that you could fit something bigger, at least trailer size. Motorhome maybe, but pull behind or fifth wheel, I would not recommend it. But at this point, we are back at the park office and headed towards the waterfront. So that will complete our ride through the campgrounds at Little PD State Park. Thank you for watching, and have a great weekend camping.